right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Broad Talk. I'm Alexis.
I'm Jamie.
And today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about the boxing fights that are coming up this weekend on PBC, particularly the fights between the Charlo brothers who are fighting Jason Rosario and Sergey Derevyanchenko. Two title fights, two really important fights in the boxing scene. Uh, these both guys are finally getting the fights that fans have kind of been waiting for. Competition, the real competition, the top flight guys of the division. We're going to talk about those fights. Then we're going to discuss the two title fights for UFC 253. Adesanya versus Costa, huge bad blood on that one. And then Reyes versus Blachowicz for the vacant light heavyweight title. First, we're going to do Charlo versus Rosario. I don't know much about Rosario. I've seen his one fight against Julian Williams, J-Rock, and he completely starched him. He overpowered him. It seemed like his power was just too much. It almost seemed like he was just in another division almost. He was just really big and strong and just overpowered him. Obviously, Jermell has the one loss and he avenged it. Wasn't impressive or anything. I mean, he finished Harrison, but he wasn't. It didn't seem like he became better as a fighter, as a boxer. Um, but still, he has a lot of skill. He has a lot of power. He has a lot of speed. And if he's really on his best and his coach has him at his best, then Jermell Charlo is almost unbeatable in that division. It depends on what type of Charlo we'll see. Obviously, this style is very different. He's not fighting a boxer per se. He's almost fighting a brawler type of guy from what I've seen. So I guess my prediction for that one is I predict Charlo's going to win handedly. I think that if he's able to handle that power, which we've seen him fight other guys who hit hard, maybe not at the skill that you want to see or competition, but he's fought other top punchers like Lubin. So I think that he's going to be able to either finish him or he's going to be able to take the decision. We might have Rosario land a couple shots, but Charlo's got a chin, and I think that he's going to take that one.
Yeah, it's a good prediction. I do feel that this fight is tailored for Charlo. From what I've seen, Rosario in the past, he's a really aggressive fighter, goes all out, and the advantage Rosario has in this fight, I think, is his size. He's big, strong, hits hard, but I think Charlo will overcome that. I think he can take a punch, but I really like Charlo's technique. I think he'll get in there, jab, jab, and break him apart, and I think he'll TKO Rosario. Um, just as long as Charlo keeps that high tempo, stays on him, and doesn't let him try to, get a little aggressive and tame him, I
Yeah.
think he'll be able to take him out of there. But Rosario has that one punch knockout, so he could, anything in boxing can happen. At one punch, that's it. But so far, I got Charlo. I like how he boxes. Seen him for a while.
Mm-hmm.
From the Lubin fight, that was a crazy fight.
Crazy finish, yeah. That was crazy, yeah.
I was really hyped on Lubin too. So
Yeah, everybody was.
yeah, and
It's
but
gonna be a good one for
Charlo's,
sure. Rosario deserves the shot, and he earned it. He's a
yeah,
champion, and I mean, we'll look forward. I mean, you can't count the guy out. He's got some power. He throws some shots in there to knock you out, and they may not be the most technical shots, but they're there to hurt you. That's not what they're meant for. They're not meant to box. They're meant to finish.
yeah,
So for
so
the main
crazy.
event,
So crazy how the other Charlo brother beat J. Rock Williams, and then Rosario beat J. Rock, and now he's fighting for that title.
yeah, it's pretty crazy how
Yeah,
that's all connected. Yeah, and it's crazy how J Rock beat Hurd, and then J Rock lost to Rosario, and now Charlo's fighting Rosario. We
yeah,
were supposed to see Charlo versus Hurd. It's just crazy how all that stuff changed. And honestly, almost there's been just 2 years when we thought Hurd versus Charlo, that's the big fight to make at 154, and then all of a sudden it just went away.
oh
So
yeah.
it's crazy.
It's just it's just styles make matches. Like it's
Yeah,
just
for
what
sure.
happens. Like how Charlo had a hard time dealing with Harris. He might have an easier time dealing with this more dangerous fighter with one punch
Awesome.
knockout power. It's
Of course.
just the way of boxing.
Yeah. Now the main event, we got the other Charlo brother, the future of boxing, going up against Sergey Derevyanchenko. This is an outstanding fight. When this fight was announced and it was rumored, I was really excited. I was hoping that this was the one that was going to be made. I mean, obviously the other rumor was Canelo versus Derevyanchenko, but this one is just as good, just because we get to finally see the heavier Charlo, Jamal, fight against someone who is considered one of the best in the division and an incredibly underrated fighter who's fought with Triple G, and he's fought against Danny Jacobs. Came up
Yeah.
short in those fights, but I mean he was in it, and a lot of people felt that he beat Triple G. So this is gonna be a really good one. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's I don't know what to say about this one. I think it's incredibly close. I think Derevchenko, although his size leaves a little to be desired, he makes up for it a lot with the closing. He really closes distance very well. He hits hard, and he's not the hardest hitter, but he's just got a lot of sound fundamentals that he's able to stay in a fight, and he's also really good at fighting on the inside. I noticed that against Triple G, he was able to really kind of withstand Triple G's inside game, which is a lot of people don't talk about, but is really done well. And he was able to give back, and he was able to actually almost seems kind of slow down and hurt Triple G with that game. So it's going to be interesting to see what his game plan is against Charlo, who's just slick, who does a lot of the 1-2s, counters. Oh, it's just he's an incredible counter. I think that Charlo's his counters are really beautiful in his timing. They're at the right spots at the right time. Just look at the knockout against J Rock. I mean, they're just perfect. And then even the knockout against Coda, he just was aggressive and he just baited Coda and boom, he finished him. It's gonna be interesting to see because this Charlo also struggled against Karabarov, I believe was the fight, the same card that his
Yeah.
brother uh, lost the fight against Harrison. I don't know. I mean, this one's tough. Well, I want to see what you think first before I make a prediction. What do you think? What's your thoughts?
Man, Sergey is a good fighter, man. When I was really impressed how he fought against Triple G, especially because he got cut in that early in that fight. And impressed me more about him is how he was able to stay. Because that cut, I thought that we were gonna stop that fight.
Yeah,
So I was so impressed how he was able to manage to defend his cut and show his defense and still fight in the inside. I was impressed by him. I
yeah,
mean, in my opinion, I think he won that fight. That's just
yeah,
my opinion. But I mean, not taking anything away from Triple G. He's amazing. But I was so impressed how he was able to get in, get out, and he was able to still put the pressure on Triple G. But um, it's like you said, man, this fight's gonna be real tough. I mean, I think I think Charlo's gonna have a hard time keeping him off him, but in the middle rounds, I think he's gonna be able to find his rhythm, counter, and like you said, Charlo has really good counters. He knows how to use his jab, knows how to walk the ring. I think with all those fundamentals that he has, all those the technique that he has, I think he's got a he's got good reaction timing.
yeah,
So he's able to counter you, and I think that's what's gonna happen on the second half of the fight, and I think he's gonna win by unanimous decision in my prediction.
yeah. I think you kind of hit the nail. I mean, Derevchenko looked great in that Triple G fight. A lot of people say that, oh well, Triple G is old. He didn't look the same. I don't think it was that. I honestly think that Derevchenko just was pushing his pace and he made it his type of fight. And a lot of people don't talk about how great of a performance it was by him against one of the world's best. And then Charlo, obviously, he rebounded pretty nicely after that Karabarov fight. I mean, he won the fight. I don't think he lost. He just struggled and he was getting hit with a lot of the straight rights and the counters by Karabarov. But I think that he's a smart enough boxer. He has a good training camp behind him that can really kind of smooth out those things that he needs to work on. And I think that this is the perfect fight to showcase that. I think that Derevchenko is going to try to do the same. He's going to try to push his own pace. Um, and I think there might be a couple rounds here and there that Derevchenko steals, especially in the beginning. I think it's going to be a bit of a feeding out process, but I think Charlo's going to take it. I think he's going to take the decision, and I think he's going to do enough to convince the judges and convince everybody that he outboxed him. Um, can he knock him out? No, I don't think so. Um, if he lands a perfect shot, a good counter, he can hurt him. Maybe he can stop him. I don't know if it'll be a one punch knockout. He does have some amazing power, but
One
I
thing I
really
will
don't
say
think
though,
so.
just because I said this fight's going to go to decision, I'm pretty sure this fight's going to be very, very entertaining, though.
Yeah, I
Very
think,
entertaining.
yeah, there's gonna be moments where I think Derevyanchenko's gonna have like, oh, he's still in it. Like, don't think
Well,
he's not. And
yeah,
I
they'll
think
both have their moments.
Yeah, and Charlo's
Yeah,
gonna land some flush shots. He's
yeah,
gonna land flush shots. He likes to be precise. He doesn't throw shots just for the sake of throwing the shots. He likes to pinpoint where he's gonna land.
yeah,
So I think, but I still think Charlo's gonna win the decision in a fight that kind of proves he's at the upper echelon of
yeah.
the middleweight division.
Yeah, he's gonna. This is his time to prove himself. I think he's got the tools. I mean, like I said, he will struggle a little bit trying to deal with his aggressiveness, but I think he's very good. Like in the Kobarov fight, he was able to make the adjustments, and I think that's gonna be key for him. And like I said, he's young, he's strong, and I think he's ready for the prime.
Yeah. And now we're gonna talk about the UFC two title fights at UFC 253. I'm sharing my screen real quick here, and we're gonna talk about Adesanya versus Costa and Reyes versus Blachowicz. First up, we're gonna talk about the vacant UFC light heavyweight title fight. So this one's a really good fight. I mean, these are the two guys that are at the top. There's no question about who are the top contenders. This is no controversy. It's Dominic Reyes versus Jan Blachowicz. Um, I mean, it's an outstanding fight. I mean, what can you say? I think that Reyes is great, great fighter. I doubted him a bit against Jones just because I didn't see too much. He had been kind of running through guys before then, other than maybe the Ozdemir fight, but that was a style that was kind of a problem. But I think that Reyes that we saw in that fight is much different than the one we're gonna see on Saturday. He's just grown so much. He's just he looked amazing against Jones. Whether you think he won or not, he just looked great. He came in there with an amazing game plan. He tried to execute as best as he can, even with the deficiencies against Jones, and he almost pulled out a decision. Um, and he's athletic. He's got some great athleticism. He's got some great power. He's essentially a well-rounded fighter who can do everything. I don't know about his grappling on the ground, but I'm gonna assume he's not inept. He's not somebody who will just get choked out immediately. He probably is studied and he's probably knows what to do in a situation, especially if it gets alarming. Blachowicz, on the other hand, he's got that Polish power, is what they say. He's incredibly hard hitter. I mean, you saw it against Anderson and Luke Rockhold. He completely starts those two. Um, he's really good on the ground. His grappling is very good. He won't, not to say he's one of the best in the world, but he's definitely he's gotten his submission wins and he does so in a very smart and calculated way. And both guys are obviously Reyes has lost in his last fight, but he's essentially on his own streak, and so is Blachowicz, beating guys like Rockhold and Corey Anderson. And those are really some of the top guys. At least Rockhold was supposed to be the next guy up, if he had beaten Blachowicz, and obviously things didn't go his way. Reyes, he's being the top as well, and he almost beat Jones. So I think for me, I'm gonna go with Reyes. I think Reyes is gonna do enough. I think he's got the superior hands. He's gonna try to get. He's gonna. I think Blatchford's gonna try to take the fight to the ground. But Reyes won't allow it to happen. I think he's just too good at defending the takedown, and especially on the clinch on the fence. I think he's just too good and too strong. And I think Blachowicz is also very strong. Don't get me wrong. He's considered one of the strongest in the division, but I think Reyes can hold his own, and I think that he's going to be able to eke out a decision with just the superior striking. And I think he's going to use his own jab. He's going to use his 1-2s, and he's going to try to counter Blachowicz if Blachowicz tries to get aggressive. Both guys can fight walking backwards. Both guys can pressure very well too. But I think Reyes is going to be the one who wins the decision. We might see Blachowicz win a round or two, or he might get shut out, but it won't be like in a way where he loses the rounds badly. It'll be where maybe he loses all five, but all five are just barely Reyes rounds.
Yeah, this is a really good fight. I think this is a one of those fights, a barn burner.
Yeah.
They like to say, you
Yeah.
know. Dominic Reyes showed a lot of will against John Jones. I think he dominated the first couple of rounds.
Yeah,
Jones picked it up at the end. But I mean, I was always hyped on Dominic Reyes. I was rooting for him even before the John Jones. I thought he was going to win the fight. You remember that?
yeah,
Um, and Reyes, what impresses me more about Reyes is that his boxing skills, man. I mean, he's got some hands, and I think he's able to counter. He's a really good counter puncher,
yeah. He is.
and he knows how to use a jab and move around, and he's got a good takedown defense. So I think John is going to have a hard time taking him down. I honestly feel like Dominic Reyes is gonna dominate this fight the whole way. He's gonna go to decision. I think he's gonna be able to outbox him. John might have his moments trying to take him down a little bit, but Dominic Reyes is gonna get up just like that.
Yeah,
Yeah. The only thing I can say is that Dominic Reyes has to be a little bit cautious about John's power, you know, and but we'll see. I mean, Dominic Reyes also showed a little fatigue at the end of that John Jones fight, so who knows if he gets a little tired, John could take him down. Maybe fight on the ground in the later rounds, but we'll see. I doubt it. I think Dominic Reyes he's on fire right now, man. He's
no,
he's got it, and I think he's in his prime. I think he's gonna be able to win this fight. Mm-hmm. We'll have a new champion.
yeah. I agree. I think we're gonna have
Oh,
Reyes as the champ.
yeah, Dominic Reyes will be the champion. I think so, in my opinion.
And for the main event, quite the interesting one. So we have Israel Adesanya, the undefeated champion, versus Paulo Costa, undefeated challenger. I mean, this is probably one of
So
the best
stoked, man.
fights. Yeah, this is one of the best fights the UFC could have made. It was an easy fight to book. The bad blood is there. There's no one else that deserves a title fight more than Costa at the moment. Undefeated, young guys. Both are possible future stars. Maybe Costa for Brazil and Adesanya for worldwide. Um, and both are just hype prospects that came into MMA looking to make a statement, and they just rolled through their competition. This is one of the best title fights we've had, and
Oh
I mean
yeah.
we've had some great title fights. Don't get me wrong, but this one just is on. It feels different because it's two young guys in their prime who look like they want to take their heads off each other. So, um, I mean, I want to see what you say first.
This year, UFC, with all the shit that's happened, UFC's put out some fucking badass fights, man.
Yeah, yeah,
They've came through. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited for this fight. I think this is gonna be a very, very exciting fight, especially with all the bad blood they got going on. Um, I'm personally a fan of both. Like I really like both styles. Israel Adesanya, he's so freaking quick, man. He's just a very dangerous, tricky fighter. And Paulo Costa, you already know what he brings. It's like he's such an aggressive fighter, a lot of power.
yeah,
Um, these two guys are gonna start banging it out right away.
yeah,
That's what's gonna happen.
yeah,
It just it just depends on Israel Adesanya, though, in my opinion. Is he gonna walk and run back like he did against Joel and counter, or is he gonna actually stand there and bang with him? I doubt it, but the other question is if Paulo Costa gonna be able to close that distance and catch him. You know, I personally think that Israel Adesanya will have his moments in the first couple of rounds, but Paulo Costa will wear him down. And I think he was going to knock Israel Adesanya out, bro.
wow. The
I think
bold
he's going to knock
prediction.
him out, bro. He's going to knock him out, bro. He's got that power, bro.
I
And,
mean, oof.
I mean, I'm not going to lie, man. If he was able to drop Yoel Romero, bro, that's
Yeah, yeah,
freaking crazy, man. He's
that was
got power,
insane.
bro.
Yeah, I
He's
mean,
got power.
oh,
And
that's a bold
I just
prediction.
feel like he's gonna be able to. I mean, don't get me wrong, Israel Adesanya is really really freaking smart. Like I think he's got a really high IQ in fighting. Like he's a really good kickboxer. And but Paulo Costa, I do feel like he's going to be able to close a distance and just rush into him, not recklessly, but I think he's got to figure out where he can go in there smartly and tear him apart in the inside.
Yeah,
I think so. And the key for this fight, I think, is Paulo Costa needs to use those leg kicks, bro. Chop him down and slow him down.
yeah,
Because you know Israel Design is going to stay away from him. He's going to pick him apart with those long shots. And if Paulo Costa can be able to, chop him down with those leg kicks and get in there, he'll have him in the pocket.
yeah.
That's my opinion.
I think the Israel's gonna try to keep the distance. He's gonna try to use his movements. He's gonna try to use his angles. He's gonna try to bait Costa to come in, and Costa will oblige. And I think he's got to be careful with the counters. But I don't. I think Costa is really really good at closing distance. He's good at cutting corners. He's good at putting you into one place and punishing you for staying there. Adesanya is going to try to use head movement. He's going to try to move. He's going to try to use the matrix type of things. But I think that's very hard to do against someone like Costa because he mixes up his body kick. That's his one weapon that he uses to kind of set up a lot of his attacks. Is the body kick, a hard body kick, and the rest comes in. Everything else just comes after. And I think that Adesanya has to be careful if he's moving his head down there. He probably knows that Costa does that, and I know that Costa probably knows that Adesanya moves his head a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see what the approach is there. But I think Costa's gonna. I think he's gonna immediately set the pace and set the tone, and he's gonna immediately pressure Adesanya. He's not gonna throw any big shots when they meet up in the middle. He's gonna immediately put the foot down, throw a leg kick, and probably even throw like a jab or something or feint, and just keep pushing, pushing. He's not gonna walk back. He's not gonna is he walking back in those first seconds of the fight, and he's gonna try to set the tone by doing that. He's going to push him against the cage. He's gonna use his strength and he's gonna try to just maul him. And he's one of the most important aspects that I think needs to be talked about is the body of Adesanya. He's really good at moving his head back, moving around. He's just got just great reflexes.
Really flashy moves.
Yeah, and it works. But one of the things I noticed in the Whitaker fight that was very frustrating to watch, as when you're watching for Whitaker, was the body was left completely exposed. And I know that Adesanya was ready for counters, but the body was just there. And I think Whitaker had a chance to throw something to the body or kind of touch him there, not necessarily to hurt him, but to keep him thinking and to keep him guessing. He kind of just rushed in and throws, and he would throw that overhand, or he would try to just throw a left hook, and it was just a rush, and the body was left completely exposed. And I've noticed that in some of his fights. Gastelum did a really good job of baiting him by just throwing some body shots. It wasn't hard, it wasn't anything noteworthy, but he was able to catch Adesanya slipping by doing that because Gastelum is really good at going down, up,
It
level
was a good
changing.
setup.
Yeah, he's just set him up with level changes and feints, and he's just a slick boxer. Costa's different because he already will throw at the body no matter what. He's gonna throw body kicks, very hard body kicks. He's gonna throw hooks to the body, and his hooks are just what makes him powerful. His hooks are just and they're short and they're compact. They're not like when someone like Brunson who his chin's out there, but he's throwing his chin out there because he's throwing power into his hooks. His hooks need him to do that in order to generate that power because it's like he's translating all the way from his shoulders and boom. Costa's like compact. He'll throw it like this, and they have so much power. It's not necessarily that one punch power like a like a Ngannou. Uh, it almost feels like a deteriorating type of power that's just gonna demoralize you. If he hits
Yeah,
you on the chin, it'll knock you out. But he'll probably land on your eye or right here in your cheek, and you'll feel like whoa, like you were just shot in the face. And if he
yeah,
hits on the body,
something hard to recover.
yeah, Uriah Hall said he never hit me on the chin, but he hit me like around my eye and almost close to the equilibrium. And when he hit me on the eye, he said it felt like my equilibrium was giving out, and it wasn't even close to it because he's so powerful. It doesn't matter where he lands it. If he lands it on your head anywhere, it's gonna hurt and it's gonna leave you demoralized. And his body shots, Uriah Hall also said, and it's been I mean, you can just tell from when fighters take those body shots. They're just terrible, man. They're tough, hard shots. Johnny Hendricks is completely just, I mean, Johnny Hendricks was out of his prime and he shouldn't have been in there, but I mean, he was starched, and so was Uriah Hall. Um, and I think that Costa should target the body, especially if it's left exposed. Adesanya is gonna assume that Costa, who has shorter arms, is not gonna be able to reach him at the head. Okay, well then Costa should go for the body, and Adesanya should try to use his jab. Obviously, he knows what he's doing in there, um, and he should just. I guess he's just gonna try to bait Costa into coming in. It's gonna be a little tough to do that, and it's gonna be tricky to see what he does. I don't know if he's gonna try to move side to side while baiting him. Um, but he can do it. I think he's capable of doing that because if he baits him and Costa bites, he can try to counter him, but maybe the counter won't work and Costa's right there in his face because Costa won't stop. It's Costa's not like Whitaker who will throw some shots and leave himself
Move back.
exposed. Yeah, leave himself exposed and then go back because that's what Whitaker does. Costa would just stay in there, hands up, and just move his head and then just go 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 go, and he'll
Yeah,
keep his chin tucked. He's not like he has it out. He was caught by Romero because Romero is just he's just got incredible timing, and he just
and he
happened to
pointed
be.
that way.
Yeah, and he tricked him. He said, "Hey, look over here!" Boom, he caught him. Yeah, and he's fast. He's
Yeah,
explosive. That was just insane. And I mean, Adesanya is a different type. This is why this fight is so interesting. It's the styles. A lot of people say this is the perfect style for Adesanya to fight, but it might also be the perfect style for Costa because of the body that might be left exposed by Adesanya. Now, maybe he figured that out. Obviously, he's a very smart fighter, and City Kickboxing, where he trains, they know this stuff. They study their fighters. They study the guys that they're gonna face, and they might have worked on that and have a game plan. But I wouldn't assume that Costa doesn't have his own game plan either. A lot of people just think it's chaotic, but it's not that it's chaotic because he's a chaotic fighter. It's chaotic because his game plan is to assert himself, assert his pressure in a way that works and make the chaos work for him. Against Romero, he had to be careful and he had to immediately stamp himself into that fight because Romero will stamp himself or counter him if he makes any movements. He had to put the hammer down on Romero in order to win that fight, especially if it was 3 rounds. He knew that he had to start fast because that's the way to beat Romero. Um, and he knew
and he
he
was able to
maybe
push Romero back.
yeah, and he was able to put him around. Obviously, he got tired at the end, but I think it wasn't because I don't think he has a bad gas tank. I think his gas tank is good. I just think he was pushing himself more than he normally does. He usually
Yeah, that
does
was
a
a
really
hard
high
fight.
pace, but he was pushing himself a lot. He was going all out, and you can tell almost every punch he threw was a punch for a knockout because he was trying to finish him and set a pace that even if I don't finish him, I know I can bag these 2 rounds. Um, I don't know. I mean, this is to me, it's a closer fight than what it seems because I think the styles make it that way. I think obviously Adesanya is way better technically on the feet, but it doesn't matter sometimes. It's the intangibles and sometimes how physical you are. And Costa knows
Yeah,
how to use that. If you know how to use your strength, your speed, or your power, and you're able to have those intangibles with the pressure, good footwork, and you're able to just kind of control the octagon in a way that it works for you to put a guy against the fence, then there's no stopping you. But Adesanya is really good at controlling the octagon himself. The only problem is he leaves himself maybe exposed sometimes at the expense of not getting hit in the face. Um, Now the ground, Costa. Don't. I watched the UFC countdown. He is a protege on the ground. He started off as a ground fighter. He knows how to take a guy down. He probably knows some submissions as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he's worked on that. Um, so that could also be a factor. But I just don't think Costa wants to do that. I don't think he's gonna try to do that at least initially. He might try to feint some takedowns to keep Adesanya guessing, but I don't know if he's gonna commit to it. I think I
yeah,
got Adesanya by decision, but I think it's gonna be close. I wouldn't be surprised if Adesanya gets hurt. I wouldn't be surprised if Costa gets hurt. I wouldn't be surprised if this is almost similar to the Gastelum fight, but different in the way the styles is. And when I say similar, I mean where it's back and forth, and we see both guys get hurt. And Adesanya has already shown he has a lot of heart, and he has it. He's willing to go in there and die. Cost the same thing. I'm pretty sure Cost is willing to go in there and die, but I don't think he. I just seen more about design. It's hard to believe that he's gonna pull through somehow. It's gonna be a close fight. Wouldn't be surprised if it's controversial. Wouldn't be surprised if there's discussion on who gets the decision. But I think Adesanya is gonna win. I think he's gonna win a close fight, and he's gonna go through some shit to get to that decision victory. Yeah, and I think Adesanya is gonna pull through. Um, yeah, that's how I see it. I think Costa can win it, and to me, it's been back and forth. Um, but I think he's gonna have some superior movements. He's gonna be able to steal some rounds with some good counter shots, and he's gonna be able to kind of make Costa miss, especially if Costa uses a bunch of volume. I just think he's gonna pull through. It's I've gone back and forth with this one, but that's how I see it going.
Well said, bro. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna be a tough fight
yeah, it's gonna
for
it's
both.
gonna be good. Yeah. Um, So yeah, that's our predictions. So officially, we both have the Charlo brothers on Saturday. Should be a good one. We both have Reyes by decision, but different for the main event. He has Costa. I have Adesanya. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm excited for this one. I'm excited for both cards, and I'm gonna figure out a way to watch both at the same time. We'll see how we can do it. But I'm really, really excited. I think
Yes,
that this is a great night for combat sports in general. I think
absolutely.
boxing's making a great comeback, and there's so many great fights that are coming up, and I can't wait to talk about them on here on this platform. And the UFC fights as well. We already have Gaethje versus Khabib coming up, Korean Zombie versus Brian Ortega,
Hell
Whitaker
yeah.
versus Cannonier. These are some great, great fights. And we
Yes.
also have, Loma versus Teo. We're gonna do a special video on that one.
Yeah.
I just announced, I think a couple hours ago, Terrence Crawford versus Kell Brook
Oh
for the
yeah.
welterweight title. That's gonna be a good one. There's just so many great fights coming up, and can't forget Usyk versus Chisora, also gonna be
Spence
good.
versus Danny Garcia.
Spence versus Danny Garcia. We're slated for some great talking points, some great videos, and as a fan of both boxing and MMA, I mean, you couldn't be happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for all these fights, and I can't wait to talk about it, especially that Teofimo versus Lomachenko.
Oh, that's
I'm
the
ready for
fight.
that fight.
Yeah, that's gonna be the good one. So next time you see us, we're definitely gonna be discussing one of those. And feel free to comment your predictions. It's gonna be a great night of fights. Everyone should enjoy, and everyone should just watch these fights and kind of relish in the fact that we're getting these fights during these tough times. And we look forward to seeing everybody. And just make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. We love talking to you guys. Whenever you guys get the chance to actually talk to us, we love to expand, and we hope you guys have a good one.
Thank
Peace.
you guys. Thanks for the support. And leave a comment below.
Yeah, appreciate it.